Almost forgot the gavel. Good evening. Welcome to the June 19th, 2013 Canby City Council regular meeting. If you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stay standing for a moment of silence, please. Great. Thank you very much. Before we get into the proclamation this evening, just a couple of quick announcements for you guys, everyone here. We had a work session earlier this evening to talk about the evaluation process of three of the general reports that the council has. So we review the performance of the city manager, the judge, and our city attorney. So we're discussing that process this evening. And then I want to bring to your attention two agenda changes for this evening. The first one is that I've asked the council and myself to keep our liaison reports and mayor's business to be very brief or to not at all, just in the interest of time, since we have a very packed agenda and several people that wish to speak to us this evening. And all that I have is that Councilor Hensley has something from a county perspective. And then also, under the resolutions and ordinance section of your agenda, we are taking item 1169, the authorizing an IGA for the loaning of money from the City of Canby to the Urban Renewal Agency and pledging of tax incremental revenues. So we're taking that from item J and moving that to the top to have that conversation first this evening. Questions from the council at this point? Perfect. So, proclamation. We have the Canby Fire District number 62 Fill the Boot Day. Whereas Canby Fire District number 62 has been working with the Muscular Dystrophy Association in their fight against neuromuscular disease, and whereas Fill the Boot is an opportunity for Oregon firefighters to ask community members to drop donations into their fire boots to help local families served by MDA in the state. This year marks the 59th anniversary of the partnership between firefighters and MDA in the fight against muscle wasting diseases, and whereas Canby Fire District number 62 has spent many hours collecting money on the streets for this campaign, and whereas firefighters locally and nationally are the largest contributors to the MDA, Canby firefighters collected $6,000 in 2012 to help in the fight against the 43 different types of neuromuscular diseases. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim Saturday, July 27th, 2013, as Canby Fire District number 62 Fill the Boot Day for the city of Canby, given unto my hand this 19th day of June, 2013. I think firefighter Dwayne Stone is here. Stoner? Audience this evening. Tell us where we need to drive to.
Our event will be July 27th, Saturday from 9 to 2. This is Canby's 15th year that we've been doing MDA Fill the Boot, and everybody enjoys it. We got guys on duty to do it and guys that come back off duty and do it. So if you're in town, please stop by, say hi, or drop in our boots. And one of our local kids who's always there, I'll be putting up posters here probably in the next week. He's a pitcher on there. He won't be there, but he's been there with us out there with the boot the last 4 years. His name is Christopher Hay. So, but he's sad and he won't be here this year, but he'll be out there next year with us. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is citizen input and community announcements. And before I turn that to you, Penny, since you're up first and ready to go, if I could ask any of the city staff members if you would be willing to give your seat up, please, for citizens that would like to sit down, I would appreciate that. And yes, sir. Did you have a question?
Mr. President, I intended to speak during during the 3 minutes. Have I lost that opportunity?
No, sir, you have not. If you have that yellow card and want to bring that over here to our city recorder, I would hear second one in. I would appreciate that, and she'll make sure I get the card.
Here, sir, I don't want your address.
Well, it's the only way I have to ID myself. I don't have my address on
Which,
this yet.
yeah, I don't need, just tell me the
My apologies.
That's okay. Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Penny.
Here you go.
So while Kim's finishing that up, just as a reminder for those of you that are wanting to speak tonight, that the microphones are not for amplification in here. So speak loudly, speak clearly, and a reminder to the council as well that we enunciate and speak clearly. Perfect. With that, Ms. Penny, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Hodson. I'm Penny Hummel, the director of the Canby Public Library, and I wanted to just give a very brief staff report. We got some wonderful news yesterday. The Meyer Memorial Trust has just awarded the new Canby Public Library a $175,000 grant. This award follows in the footsteps of 3 other major grants totaling $280,000 already awarded to the City of Canby by our state's 3 other major foundations, the Oregon Community Foundation, the Ford Family Foundation, and the Collins Foundation. This unanimous affirmation of our project from Oregon's philanthropic leaders underscores their understanding of the new library's potential to enhance learning, strengthen community, and support economic development. In each case, the grant process is extremely competitive, so I think we can all be proud that a Canby project has met with such success. My thanks go out to members of the Library Foundation, as well as others in the community, including some of you, who participated in the process of making the case for our project. I also want to thank the Canby Kiwanis Club, who recently dedicated their proceeds from their annual plant sale to support the new library. Every contribution helps. At this point, we have raised over $621,000 towards our $1 million goal. I encourage anyone who's interested in the progress of the new library or who would like to get involved to visit our website at www.canbylibrary.org. We look forward to breaking ground on the new library and Civic Center this September and to opening our doors in late 2014. Finally, as we continue to move forward, I want to thank each of you for your support of this important project. Thanks.
Thank you, Penny. Congratulations. That's excellent. Councilor Parker.
Penny, I was one of the people that Meyer Trust called for their due diligence calls, and when they identified themselves and explained why, I was prepared to go into some explanation. The woman at the other end, the trust officer, wouldn't let me talk. She kept saying how excited she was by this proposal, and it's always interesting to see yourself as others see you. And in addition to the Civic Center component, which of course is the centerpiece of this, she was very excited about the renovation of the WPA 75-year-old library, the City Hall, and also the role that this would play in the redevelopment of the downtown. But that was where her focus was, and I'm not sure I contributed much other than nodding my head on a telephone call. But it was fun to hear somebody from Portland so excited about our project.
Congratulations to the Friends of the Library and their fundraising. That, Penny, that just shows good work and good organization, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Gottman, I believe you have requested some time.
He did.
I'll be brief.
Look at that neat sign.
My name is Lila Gottman. I'm here tonight on behalf of General Canby Day. It's just a few short weeks away. We have lots planned. Returning will be the dog races that were a huge hit last year. And this year, the fire department will be adding a junior firefighter course in their display area. So they're going to be bringing less vehicles, but adding a little component. We have about 30-plus vendors, which is per usual, taking up about 60 spaces. There's going to be food, music, the parade, car show, pancake breakfast, don't forget to go there. And of course, the fireworks at 10 o'clock. And I have for you your parade applications. And if you want to participate, this year the King and the Queen, Robert and Betty Rafe Snyder, will be crowned and robed at the event.
Thanks, Lana.
And we have a special little addition for half of your car sign. You must come to get the other half.
Do we all have to have that on our car?
The mayor,
Oh,
Brian
Mayor,
Hudson.
My
Mayor
name?
Brian Hudson.
No, some of you kept your car signs, and if you want them upgraded with new bling, drop them off at the registration center,
New bling.
and we will bling them for you for this year.
Thanks, Lila, you're doing a great job.
The most important thing that I have to say tonight is we have added a fundraising opportunity to the community, and that is a 3-day, 2-night midweek vacation for two to Nevada. And we'll be selling tickets around town. I am going to give you a complimentary ticket. And while you think that you're getting something, you're actually going to have to come to the event and deposit the ticket in order to make it any good. So we're hoping to raise funds to help pay for the fireworks. And this is hopefully going to turn into a huge success that we do often during the year.
Can you check with them on this? They're already talking about, I think.
An explanation.
Willing out of our own.
Grab one from me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, Lila, thank you for that, and thank you for the submission to the drawing. To keep it above board for us, I must say that we will, if we desire, would buy our own ticket versus accepting the one that we got this evening, so.
Oh, it's definitely a
I
bribe to
think-
get you to the paid event.
Am I right on that?
Well, I just asked for clarification. If we use that ticket and we win it, we have to donate it back.
Okay.
Okay,
To Greg Ellis?
Touche.
Yes.
Great job. Yeah, all right.
I was just
Fair
the one
enough.
that gave him the advice.
Well, Lila, thank you for coming and
Thank
letting
you.
us know the event schedule, and appreciate that.
Lila, how many years you been involved with this?
13.
Thank you for this huge contribution to this community. It is one of the highlights of Canby. It brings so many people in, is such a great economic driver. Thank you.
We are expecting record numbers again this year because it's on Thursday. That's a midweek day. 24,000 people at least.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Lila.
Is it Mr. Farr? What issue were you here to speak on this evening?
Well, I came to speak to the council for 3 minutes because I'm not allowed to go speak to the school board, but I understand Councilor Hensley is a liaison with the school board. But given the length of your program today, I will make my appearance essentially symbolic and take 60 seconds if the president would grant it.
Well, you're actually talking about a non-agenda item, so you can come up right now and have your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. With your permission, I'll remain standing.
Okay.
My getting out of a chair may take longer than 60 seconds. For those of you who don't recall who I am, it's been 16 years since I retired from teaching at Ackerman Middle School, and my name is Paul Farrar. For the last 14 years of those 16, I have been excluded from every Canby School District property under threat of being arrested for criminal trespass. I tried to work with Superintendent Summer, whom I admire greatly. I tried to work with Superintendent Jeff Rose, whom I have publicly denounced and do again in this letter. and I'll stand the strain if he wants to take me to court for my remarks, but I'm not going to take your time to denounce him any more than just to say that. I deeply admire Superintendent Steach, and I have told him so, and I've told him that I would like him to remain at least another year. I've been out of town for the last 3 months, so I know he's still hunting, but I don't know if he's gotten a job. In any case, Thomas Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence, when you decide to separate yourselves from your friends and your family in the mother country, you got to do so publicly, and that's the reason that I'm here. The copies of this letter to the school district are sitting out here. I will reserve enough of them for all of you up there, but not to take your time here and now, and I will simply mail a copy to Mr. Steach tomorrow rather than asking you to carry the letter for me. So with that, I thank you for your time and allowing me to make this announcement publicly without being arrested. My gratitude, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Forgive me walking across.
Okay. The other cards I have are an agenda item, so we will get to those when we get to that portion of it. Mayor's business. Tonight I have none. Councilor comments, liaison reports. Councilor Hensley had one.
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The C4 meeting, the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, we were talking about the STIP funds that we have submitted. The City of Canby submitted a project for sidewalks out on Ivy. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video that Matilda Dees put together, but they are accepting public comment and only until the end of the month of June. And I'm going to ask, hopefully we can get the link on here because it's a lengthy website. www.oregon.gov/ODOT/highway/region1/stip/index.aspx. I'll see if we can get a link of that on the city website for you, so you can go and follow the links there to email your comments on why we at the City of Canby think our project deserves the funding from ODOT. And that is all I have. I just wanted to get that out because the deadline comes before our next meeting. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just as a background, so the State Transportation Improvement Plan has put out a request, and the request that we submitted was for improvements on sidewalks and whatnot around South Ivy and 13th through there. And so far, we have made every cut that they've done to this, as they're narrowing down the selection of projects. This project is still,
We're in the 150% list now.
so we're at the 150% list and just made that. So if we can get some public input to go and, voice your thoughts and wishes for this project to continue to go forward. There is a matching grant piece, which we have money set aside for that program, that when it gets approved, we'll be able to work with ODOT to get that put in. I think if there's anything else. Yes.
One little comment. Unless I missed it when I viewed the video, the one piece that I didn't hear that could possibly be a good point to make in the public comments is that we have a lot of school-age children walking to school now because of the budget cuts taking the school buses away. I didn't hear that, and so unless I missed it, it didn't make the video. Although it is a great video, Matilda.
Yeah, they did a great job.
That
Tony,
is just a good point, though, that should be
Tony.
made in the public comments.
Yeah. Tony, our film guy.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah,
Okay.
helped with that too. Yep.
Thank you, Tony.
So please take the couple minutes. There are a long list of projects, but we'd really like for you to comment on our project. Okay, thank you, Councilor Hensley. With that, and thank you everyone else for truncating your liaison reports till next month. Consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the minutes of the June 5th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting. Appointment of Linda Warwick to the Canby Public Library Board for a term to end on June 30th, 2017. Reappointment of Sharon Trimble to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2016. And a new outlet liquor license for Frackburger.
Second.
Great. So a motion was made by Councilor Dale, seconded by Councilor Ayers to move to adopt the minutes of the June 5th, 2013 City Council work session and regular meeting. Appointment of Linda Warwick to the Canby Public Library Board for a term to end on June 30th, 2017. Reappointment of Sharon Trimble to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee for a term to end on June 30th, 2016, and a new outlet liquor license for Frack Burger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm
No
sorry.
opposed.
Okay, thank you, sir. So that passes 5-1. Thank you to Linda and to Sharon Trimble for signing up and helping us out. Appreciate that. Okay. So we're going to move into our public hearing session. We have 3 of those tonight. So please bear with me as I read through the public hearing format. Tonight, there are 3 matters before the hearing body that require public hearings. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matters. If you wish to testify on these matters, please fill out a yellow comment card and give it to the city recorder. The 3 issues are state revenue sharing funds, the 2013-14 budget as approved by the Budget Committee, and the 2012-13 supplemental budget. At the appropriate time, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and interest in the matter. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands at this time. Okay. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed through the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. We will have the staff report. Questions, if any, by the hearing body or staff. We will open the public hearing for testimony, where we will hear from the proponents. We will have no more than 3 minutes. We will have the opponents, which will also have not more than 3 minutes. We will close the public hearing for testimony. We will have questions, if any, by the hearing body, and then discussion by the hearing body. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing on each matter, or it will be continued to a date certain in the future. And that future will be later this evening in our resolutions and ordinances. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedure of the public hearings at this point? Okay. So with that, my favorite phrase, Tracy, we will go into our first public hearing, which is the state revenue sharing funds. And I will turn that over to staff for the report.
So this relates actually to resolution 1166, and basically this is your opportunity to talk about how we propose to use state revenue sharing revenues in the budget. So basically we're saying that we met those conditions in resolution 1161 and then in 1166, we're saying that we would like to elect to receive those revenues from the state. And those are all budgeted within the administration revenue budget of the general fund.
And if you wouldn't mind speaking a little bit louder next time. That's okay. With the fan, the AC is out, that's why we have the doors open and fans going, and I figured with a large audience tonight, it might get warmer in here than usual. So that's why the increased volume request. Thank you, Haley, appreciate that. Any questions for staff on this issue? All right, well then I will open the public hearing for testimony. Any proponents from us wanting to receive the state revenue? Okay, anybody against it, for it? Nope, all right. We will close it. Any discussion at all? Okay. We'll end that, thank you. We'll come back and vote on that later. Move on to the next public hearing. The 2013-14 fiscal year budget as approved by the Budget Committee. Again, for conversation, this, for us as the council, we're discussing the budget that was approved. And make sure, Haley, that I stay on point here, that as discussed and voted upon by the Budget Committee, and anything that might be pertaining to affecting the budget that happens later on. That'll be discussed later on, not as part of this discussion. So any questions or dialogue that must be about the budget that was voted on by the Budget Committee? Haley, did I cover that correctly?
Exactly, and published in the LB1.
Thank you. All right. Any staff report at all? It is what it is. Okay. Questions from council?
Not at this point.
Not at this point? Okay, then I will open it up for public testimony. Open the hearing. Any proponents for the city budget? Mr. Drott.
John Drott, 23951 South Blount Road. Here we are again talking about budget, and how many years have I come here and had negative things to say about the budget and what was going on. This is the first year in years I'm able to come here with a smile and congratulate the budget process. All of the departments had to do some belt tightening, the library included. I'm sure none of us are, doing cartwheels over that, but we appreciate that every department has been treated fairly and equitably, and I'm just here to say I'm not here to complain for the first time. So, congratulations.
Not sure why you're here, but then, we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in favor of the budget? All right. Any opponents to the budget at this point? All right. I will close the public hearing for testimony. Any other questions or discussions by the hearing body? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into the third public hearing, and that is the 2012-2013 fiscal year supplemental budget. I will go back to Ms. Haley Fish for that one.
Yes, we have published a notice of supplemental budget hearings for the forfeiture fund, which received more than 10% in revenue and has anticipated uses for those funds. So we'd like to appropriate the resources that were received for expenditure on allowable costs. And we would also like to appropriate $200,499 in the transit fund to be able to fund repaying the interfund loan back to the sewer fund, which we need to do by the end of the year to stay in compliance with Oregon revised statutes of operating loans, interfund loans. So there are also some administrative smaller things included within the supplemental budget resolution, that they do not meet the 10% threshold, so they were not included in the notice that was published in the newspaper. And those were mostly administrative, small items done to clean up the budget at year end.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions right now on this at all for staff?
Just one.
Yes.
So total contingency hit was roughly 98K.
Add them all up. About that.
Okay,
And there's 57 in the general fund.
right. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. I will open the public hearing on this particular issue. Any proponents on the supplemental budget at this point? Okay, say none. Opponents to the supplemental budget? Say none. I will close the public hearing, and again, questions or discussion from the hearing body? Asked and done. Okay. Thank you, Haley. Appreciate that. Moving into resolutions and ordinances.
The first item we have is Resolution 1169. This is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for the loaning of money from the City of Canby to the Urban Renewal Agency and pledging of tax incentive revenues.
Great, thank you, Kim. Before we get into the staff report, a couple of things I just want to lay some, I guess, some bumper guards to the conversation here. If you wish to address us, please make sure that we are being respectful to us and those that are in the room, and keep it to the issue at hand. We are not rehashing the entire library conversation. That's not what this is about. This is about moving funds from one area into another. If you have spoken before and have no new information on the topic, I ask that you keep it brief or even more than brief. As with the public hearings tonight, speakers have 3 minutes. Any questions from staff or council at all? Okay, so with that, I will turn it over to staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Lindsay, but I do want to point out that this resolution has 6 whereases in it, so you can see the importance of this resolution.
Well, the Cliff Notes version of this is basically, it's not only moving between funds, it's moving between governments, technically. It's between the city government and the Urban Renewal Agency, which are separate entities, and what one has is a promise to pay as taxes come in, and that would be the Urban Renewal Agency. And what one has, the city, is enough funds that are uncommitted in a combined sewer fund to effectuate an immediate purchase of land from Canby Urban, or the Canby Utility Board. And so this was an agreement to try to borrow $950,000 from the combined sewer fund because it's available and uncommitted and allowable, so that there can be an immediate purchase and a purchase and sale agreement. And it's a 10-year loan. It's a 5% payback accrued annually. And so it's a way for the urban renewal to get immediate cash so it can make its purchase, promising to pay as the tax structure that it is comes in. And it's just a way that these two governments can work together to effectuate a purchase immediately, if it so chooses, and if they both so choose, because they both have to vote on it in resolutions.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask you a question?
Sure can.
There's no penalty for early payoff if this loan were pursued, is that correct?
That's correct. It's not in the documentation to have any sort of penalty.
For the general audience and the audience at home, can we just, the sewer reserve fund is used for what? Why is that set up and what is it used for?
Well, and potentially, Haley, our finance director, had done an analysis on the combined sewer fund, and had basically seen that there was, there's different pay-ins to the combined fund, but what she discovered in her analysis is that this is all from the rate. It's basically, it's a reserve, and it's for whatever, sewer needs are out there. And without being able to say what's within my crystal ball, when the dry wells that we talk about sometimes might go sour or whatever, there is a lot that's been saved up in this fund over the years to make sure that we can make smooth transitions if and when something catastrophic might occur. And I know you guys have taken this risk we talked about it even earlier as part of the supplemental budget. Canby Area Transit took a $500,000 loan with the anticipation, that was an interfund loan, with the anticipation of being able to pay it off when the Betsy credits came back, and they did, and so now it's paid back. So this isn't a brand new option that's been exercised, but these are uncommitted funds that I guess mostly came from the ratepayers. Or this amount actually is from the ratepayers.
Well, there's various funding sources, but we excluded all restricted funds, so SBCs and other restricted funds were not included in the analysis that we did of the projection of revenues, operating expense, and then capital expenses. And the projection took into account the latest SDC and rate analysis and the CIP plan within that, and made sure that the fund had the ability to meet those planned capital expenditures throughout the next 10 years, in addition to having a contingency for which we were comfortable with for emergencies, and still be able to fund this interfund loan.
Can I add something more?
Yes, sir.
The history of this goes back many years more than any of us have been on the council. And it was a decision of the prior councils, and I believe the appropriate decision, to start building a reserve account for the day when a major upgrade to the sewer plant is going to occur. And that still is forecast, the last time I talked to our staff, of 12 to 17 years out into the future before that money is going to be needed. But if we didn't put a little bit away each year to build for that, when that major improvement, multi-million-dollar improvement came, you'd have to go out and borrow money, float a loan. And so that it, just as Canby Utility is building reserves for major upgrades of the water and the electric system, we're doing the same. And the money is not forecast to be needed for a minimum of 10 years and probably more. But it's better for us to build that bank account, so to speak, so that when the day comes, we can do it without having to go into debt to do it.
Thank you, sir. So in terms of paying it back, 10-year schedule, and that'll be the URD that pays that back to us.
Correct.
And how can we speed that up?
How can we speed up the repayment?
Yeah.
Sell the property as soon as we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flip it.
That's exactly right.
Yes, please.
I was just going to ask Haley, wouldn't you agree that in the various options for raising this kind of money, that was the option that you felt was most reasonable?
Yes, so we did go through 6 various options in the when we were discussing the purchase, and this was my recommendation. Another option was to do the interfund loan at the local government investment pool rate, which is the lowest rate that you're allowed to do an interfund loan at. And you could consider doing external debt, and there were some other options based on the timing of when the different project pieces came together. So this was my recommendation.
The least to be sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Can I clarify that, Haley? So these funds had been in the, what did you call it, the pool?
The local government investment pool is it's kind of like a money market for governments that the state manages. And so
that's where these funds had been?
That's where they're sitting now, yes.
And they're making how much interest?
As of May, the average rate was 0.54%.
0.5%.
And we're proposing to pay
5%.
5%. So that would be more.
You're a comedian.
Any other
Could I
questions?
share a history of why we got to where we are? It might help because I've seen emails and messages.
Yes, sir.
Let me give you a little history of why this is necessary. When we started talking about building the library 4+ years ago, the plan was to put the library along First Avenue, which required the city to buy Canby Utilities property along First Avenue. Canby Utility informed us 2 years ago that they were not going to be prepared to move off that property for 8 to 10 years. So that changed the plan for us to move the library to 2nd Avenue. The only piece of property the city does not own between Ivy and Holly on 2nd Avenue is a small parking lot that's just adjacent to the building here that Canby Utility owns. A contingent that included myself, Roger Reif from the library board, Greg Ellis, the chair and general manager of Canby Utility, and the architects met last summer, a year ago, and we discussed the desire to acquire that lot, and the discussion at that time was that we would tear the old police department building down, we would convert that into a parking lot, and we would trade it to Canby Utility for the parking lot that's on 2nd Avenue. We were told at that meeting that looked like a reasonable thing. They wanted to maintain being held whole, is what they called it, but they would not be obstructionist, and they would be a good neighbor, and that we would work that out. So we moved ahead on that assurance that the trade would happen. Approximately 6 months ago, Canby Utility came back to us and said, we've changed our mind. We want you to buy all of our property, and then we will move out. So we had those discussions, and it kind of fit what we talked about, and the mayor brought up specifically a year ago, that rather than tearing the police department down and building another parking lot, why don't we sell that property and get it back onto the tax rolls? And so that's the plan, that we would acquire, using this loan, all of the Canby Utility property on 1st and 2nd Avenue. We would build the library, remodel the offices, build the new council chambers, and when Cub moved out to their new building in approximately 2 years, we would then sell the property, all of the property, on 1st Avenue. So that would be the Cub office building, the parking lot west of that, and the police department plot. And that would repay the loan and get those properties back on the tax rolls. And hopefully a brew pub or a office complex or something would be built along there to enhance First Avenue. So that's how we got to where we are tonight.
Thank you, sir. That was I think, well-done recap of where we're at. Other questions or comments? I have an additional question, but...
Just for the sake of the cameras in the audience, Haley, the principal's $950,000. The maximum term is 10 years. Interest rate's 5%. So total TIF funding, should it go out the full 10 years, looks like $1.23 million.
So total interest is 280. So yes, 1.23.
Thank you.
Greg, do we know, just in terms of projections, what we think we can get for the PD, or the old PD building and property, and potentially Cub? Like, what's
Yeah,
be the going rate on that?
one of the things we did, we wanted to do to see what this property was valued at. We didn't want to pay more, so we had an appraisal done. But I did 4 scenarios. I did just the parking lot by itself. I did current Cub parking, or not parking, all of their property, the small parking lot in front, the Cub building, and this parking lot. And then another scenario was the Cub building, the parking lot in front of the Cub building, and the police station. And those were equal value. So with this parking lot taken off, the police property added on, it would be $950. So right at this point, at least the appraisals came back saying those are equal value.
So that's the appraisal, but what's the market?
Yeah.
What's
You don't
the,
know until you sell
I mean,
it,
do we have a,
and that's 2 years out. So.
well, I understand that piece, but I mean, there's still,
Well,
Is there-
I don't think you'd sell it for less than appraised value. You'd try not to.
we try not to.
Yeah,
I'm just,
but you can't tell what the market is. You would market it at whatever the appraised value is.
okay.
That's what you'd put on the market for. Because for one thing, you got banks that come in and say, what's it appraised at, if they're going to do any type of financing. And banks would not lend more than appraised value, obviously.
They won't, but then they'll also only take what market rate is also.
How do you determine market rate?
Well, that would have to come back through, I'm assuming, looking at comparables and things of that nature,
Yeah.
much like, housing, or what's the current, office, what is
Yeah.
current office space running in Canby,
But that's how they determined that appraised rate, is they did comparables around the community.
The market rate would be what you got an offer on. It could be less, it could be more. That's the market rate. The appraisal rate takes into consideration the comparables and the rental rates, and that was all in that.
That was all in there.
I've got it if anybody wants to read it, but it's package that.
And my only concern is that Canby there is a lot of office space available. Will it be that way in 2 years? I don't know. But that's, I'm just trying to, again, we're taking a risk here on $1.2 million, and I get we'll pay it back through the Urban Renewal Agency. But again, just
Well, I have no,
less, trying to be a little risk aversion here is what I'm looking for. So, okay. All right. Any other questions at this point before I go through my cards here? No? Okay. You have your timer, sir. Is it
Toastmaster cards.
Kevin
Know when their time is.
Batridge? Okay. Kathy Shin.
I would, my name is Kathy Shin, 645 Northeast 22nd Avenue. I just would like to reinforce for everyone here that we have made a decision to move forward with the library at the April 17th meeting. And I have a sense that there are some folks here who feel that this might be an opportunity to stop the library project. And I would just like us to remember that in the course of that, I know, Mr. Mayor, you had made a number of statements prior to the discussion about the library decision and so on, that we needed to stop digressing and we need to move forward, that we will discuss the options shared by the attorney, and it is imperative that we come together as one unit. We must support the legitimacy and the authority of the decision being made tonight. And once the direction is set, we will be having a URA meeting as quickly as possible to move forward so we can direct staff, and that this is imperative. And that we all leave this dais tonight in unity moving forward. So those were your words, and I appreciate those words, and I just hope that people are looking forward on this project and that we, in fact, are making a wise decision that will help us move forward with the library. And I think it's quite a testament to the folks who've been working on this project since last August, and the over $600 million that we have already raised for out of that $1 million is a real testament to people's faith in this community. So those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Teresa?
Okay. My name's Teresa Enderly. I live at 2210 North Country Club Drive. And I just wanted to say that the Beavers won the game, 1-0, so on to the Final Four. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs.
Figured that was very appropriate. And my comments are kind of along with Kathy, too, and I prepared a little bit to say, but, I don't know that it all applies directly, but I just wanted to really let you know I am a proud member of the Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation Board. And, part of the responsibilities that I took on was to have a genuine desire and commit my time and energies to achieving the vision of that project. I respect the viewpoints of others, encourage positive discussion, and work to lead and display a collaborative attitude in order to realize the objective of building a new library and a new civic center in Canby. Part of our mission is to have a unified group consisting of city council, city staff, and Canby citizens, and this was really based off of the same comments from the April 17th council meeting, where voting 5-1 to move forward with the plan to build the new library and restore City Hall for civic use. Based on this decision, both of my boards are actively fundraising and have never wavered from our primary objective. We have been able to communicate the importance of this project, laid foundation and value of this project to prospective donors, and have already achieved a very good success rate for donations, which Kathy mentioned, and also Penny totaling over $600,000. Once again, I'm asking for the council to improve and embrace the project and to assist in all efforts to see our new library started and completed on time and on budget. I challenge you to be as creative as we are in applying energy and support to finishing the project and be unified with the vision of the Canby community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Linda Warwick?
I'm Linda Warwick. I live at 1362 North Fir Street. That is not to be confused with First, as I found out when I moved here. I recognize the fact that there have been a lot of objections to building this library. It seems to me that they're not really about the library. They're really about money. To spending money, objections to spending money, objections to incurring debt, and I get that. Frankly, I don't like paying my taxes any better than anybody else does. But I do because I think it's in my own best interest to live in a society in which everyone has the possibility of thriving. That may be the only thing I have in common with Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was sort of the Bill Gates of his time. He was a child of poverty. He was self-educated. He made what was in his age a huge fortune. And most of that fortune he gave away. Not because he was a particularly generous person, but because he thought inherited wealth created weakness, and he didn't wish to have weak children. He thought providing citizens with the tools to become creators of wealth would make a strong society. And for that reason, he endowed the Carnegie Libraries, one of which I grew up in. He said, "There is not such a cradle of democracy upon earth as the free public library. This republic of letters where neither rank, office, nor wealth receives the slightest consideration." And I agree with him. And I have a second compelling financial reason why this library should be built. The city has already spent over $500,000 in planning for this library. That's lost if we don't build it. The city has already floated the bond to build the library. And whether we build or not, we have to pay the interest on that. If we don't build the library, we lose that money. And we lose all possibility of getting grants in the future for a future project. I hope we're smarter than that. I hope we do, as our mayor suggested the last time this came up, and support the legitimacy and the authority of the decision made, and leave tonight in unity moving forward. And frankly, I think it would be utter foolishness to build the library and to make it impossible for it to run by refusing to support it in any way. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Joyce Ayers.
Hello, I'm Joyce Ayers, 1920 North Country Club Drive, Canby. And it's been an interesting time watching the whole process of the development of the new Canby Library. I was laying awake during the night thinking about history and how when the downtown Portland Library was built, there were probably some people who thought we shouldn't spend the money. It's the wrong time. When the Capitol building in our nation's capital was built, there were people sitting in the budget meetings saying, this isn't the right time. When the dome was put on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., it was during the Civil War, and there were those who said, we can't afford it now. And our President Lincoln said, it needs to go on now. There's always some reason not to do something, but there's so many more reasons to do something. It takes people of vision, like you, who say, yes, it's time to go forward. Yes, we need to build this. We need to have a substantial showing of our commitment to our citizens by the edifice that we're going to build. And I thank you for your commitment to make that decision and go forward. You've got I think, 3 different items on your agenda tonight that involve the library. You guys are good. Get it all done in one evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. Mr. Myron Pito?
Myron Pito, I live at 2037 North Lupine. When I look at, this will be a brief foray, but when I look at what's happening on our national level with our government, it seems that there is sort of a battle between ideology and pragmatism. I'm going to
We'll give you 10 extra
cede some of
seconds.
my time to the train.
We'll let you defer for a moment.
Thank you.
Defer to the train.
And at least in my estimation, we see what happens when the pendulum swings too far on the ideology side, and the result is that things don't get done and our government doesn't service the way that it should. It's been mentioned before that at the April meeting, it was said that we need to end this, we need to make a decision, and we need to move forward. It was also said that some people won't be happy with the decision, which was prophetic, although perhaps not in the way that the speaker meant. Further, what happened was that all the other options besides moving forward with the library were considered. Cutting and running was considered, moving it to a different location was considered. Even if you're against the idea completely of the library, it was considered the least bad option, and everybody in the end voted for that, or almost everybody voted for it as the least bad option. And this gets back to my point of ideology versus pragmaticism. Being pragmatic means recognizing that there are people that disagree with you, and as an elected leader, you're obligated to listen to them and recognize that their ideology is different than yours, and you can't just stick with your ideas till the bitter end. At some point in time, you have to do your job as an elected official. Turning back now in the library would be hugely problematic, even worse than it was on the April 16th, in the April meeting. And for this reason, I urge you guys to vote yes and move forward on the library.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Myron.
Tracy Height.
Tracy Height, 2037 North Lupine Street. I'm on the Friends of the Library Board and an active volunteer in the community in the library, too. I wanted to say a bit about urban renewal. There's a good booklet that was put out by city staff, right? Was this created by? Yeah, it's very informative. I came upon it recently. You have more copies to be. So if anybody wants one, they're available. It's pretty informative and positive. The Urban Renewal District has been good to Canby since it was formed, and I think we should stop and appreciate it once in a while rather than criticize it so often and sometimes carelessly. We don't need to rely on it indefinitely, but we've developed the Canby Pioneer Industrial Park, Sequoia Parkway, gotten the new police facility, beautiful First Avenue development, redevelopment, the facade improvement program, and then we'll have the new library and civic center out of it. It's pretty good. It'll expire in 2019, so I think in the meantime we should enjoy it and be grateful for what it gives us. And also during that April 17th meeting, many of us have said this tonight already, but we said that, or you said that you would go forward at this point, that once a decision is made, we move forward. The decision was made, we're moving forward. Over $600,000 have been raised by the library board. So we want you to follow through with this declaration and do it. If the Cub property acquisition is the final element here, great, acquire it, make it happen. At this point, it shouldn't be an issue. Let's do it.
Thank you, Tracy. Dustin Brown.
Dustin Brown, 10050 South New Era Road. Just really quick, I don't want to take a lot of time. I'm really glad that we have a council that takes the finances of the city very seriously, that they don't rubber stamp any item, but that they look at everything and say, is this necessary? Is this going to be beneficial for the people of Canby? That is such a great thing